Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. I'm coming to you from the Pod Shack outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. This is the podcast where every movie is someone's favorite, and I put on this big, loud top 40 radio DJ voice to get everyone hyped AF for everything that's about to happen. With me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, the guardian to the nexus of realities, because he calls the fridge where he keeps all his IPAs the nexus of realities, the one and only Tom Co. What's up, sir? How are you?
Just had to drop off some dark water in the bathroom. Other than that, just bring in the excitement.
You sound like an entire ball of enthusiasm.
Don't I, though?
I need you to be more excited. I need you to get so hyped. I need you to act like your favorite obscure craft beer has just put out a new highfalutin raspberry jam / peanut butter and jelly banana flavor. That's how excited I need you to be.
But I would totally drink that. In
I
fact,
have
I
no
have
doubt.
drank that.
You're such a hipster.
Aren't I, though?
I need you to get more excited because joining us tonight, returning guest, Tom Co's better half. Just don't tell Mrs. Co. For whatever you do, don't tell Mrs. Co. Formerly of Jake and Tom Conquer the World, where he and the Tom Co try to conquer the silly planet one audio file at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, put your arms in the air and pump it in a rhythmic fashion like you're a real Arsenio Hall. Hoo. It's Jake. What's up, sir?
Hey, everybody. And don't worry, Mrs. Co, she knows her place.
Yeah, she realizes she's the beard.
Oh, man. I just don't want Mrs. Co finding out that I brought, Tom Co's lover onto the podcast because she already hates me because her husband's always watching this stupid shit, and she sometimes has to endure it.
I have that woman so far beyond shame at this point. It'll roll off her back.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
I like it.
It's funny. My wife also jokes about Tom and I's relationship sometimes because we're getting older. We're in our mid-40s. We're at the age where we start talking about things like retirement and what we're going to do post-work. And every time I bring it up, my wife goes, "Okay, and where's Tom fit in this?"
Oh,
Honey,
man.
I have a plan. I'm not going anywhere without him. He's coming along.
Yeah, we just got to figure out a destination. I'm still pulling hard for the RV.
Oh, that gets brought up at least twice a week.
Man, these two get a room, huh?
No, an RV, sir.
Okay, sorry.
It's like a room, but on wheels.
I stand
Exactly.
corrected. Hey, before we move on, I just have this thing that I have to get off my chest, and it's because of you, Tom Co, you son of a bitch.
Oh?
Oh, yeah. I'm about to unleash upon you, and all of our dear listeners are going to be a witness.
I didn't know I deposited anything on your chest this week, but, I'm all ears.
You dropped a real metaphorical Cleveland steamer right upon me, sir.
Okay.
So I did this thing, It's called having a baby. I did that.
All right. I had nothing to do with that, I don't think.
No, you did not. But now, this is what this Tom Co does. He tries to steal my thunder. He's like, oh, Randy's got a baby. He's going to be talking about that thing nonstop. Let's go get a dog, Mrs. Co. And Mrs. Co was like, that's a capital idea. Let's get another dog. That'll surely just steal Randy's thunder.
It's not just a dog. It's a rescue dog.
See, how heartwarming is that? I had a plain old baby. I didn't even rescue it. It wasn't in a basket floating down the river. I just had it, and you rescued a dog.
I mean, all fairness, anybody can have a baby. It takes a real hero to rescue them.
I knew Jake wouldn't have my back. I just knew it. You two, thick as thieves, ganging up on me. So,
hey, not everybody can be a hero.
Every time I show a picture of my baby, Tomko will be like, "Oh yeah, but look at this dog."
Okay, now I think you need to take a picture of your baby next to the picture of the dog. Go on whatever social media you have and let the fans decide.
Oh, that's a great idea. What's cuter, this baby or that dog? Should we? I'm surprised you haven't thrown a diaper party for this dog, Tomko.
You know what? I just got the dog a couple days ago, and it's not too late.
It's not too late. So, I mean, if you want to donate, listeners, to Tomko's diaper party, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm accepting kibble.
But just remember, I have a sweet little adorable baby boy who will one day grow up to be the spitting image of me and then become the heir to the podcasting throne.
Oh, wow.
Or he'll hate everything about you as a guy who's a parent of 2 children, one 12 and one 18. Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to follow in your footsteps.
I was going to say, which side that coin's going to come down on, don't you?
Listen, I'm an idol to millions. Why not one more? Why not one more?
Well, come on. You don't want to get greedy, sir.
I guess. He's already going to have it all. The good looks, the great humor. I guess he doesn't need to, have my, I don't know where I'm going with that.
Now, I remember the last time I brought a dog into this house, you showed Pookie, whom you adore, and next thing you know, you had a dog.
Which was almost exactly 1 year ago when Jake was on. I see what you're doing. Every time Jake comes on, you're going to get another dog.
Or are you going to get another dog?
I'm just going to have more babies, apparently.
A new baby every year, a new dog. This is a good idea.
Yeah. Who's going to win this war, Tomko? Who's going to win?
I don't know, but God help the world when we team up and join forces.
I know. All my babies will be riding your dogs into battle.
Yeah. The dog boys in Michigan are taking over.
Yeah, that's right. And how wild am I to have a baby at the age of 40? And how wild are you to adopt a rescue dog at the age of 77? That's crazy. Who are we?
We are brave, is what we are. There is a very fine line between bravery and stupidity, though.
I know. That's why we do this podcast and we watch such things as Man Thing.
And I got to tell you, when you pass the 3 dog mark, you've hit stupidity.
Yes.
Well, listen.
Yes.
Jake.
I have had a conversation with Mrs. Coe saying that we are at our capacity.
Yeah, listen, Jake, there's a reason why the band is 3 Dog Night and not 4 Dog Night, okay?
We have had so many close call moments because we're at 3, and I didn't want 3. I was happy with 2, but we ended up getting 3. Partially because Tom got another dog about a year ago, and then that convinced my wife to have to get a 3rd one.
It's always a competition with this Tomko.
Really,
he's always starting shit.
I was going to say, because right after you got your last one, within like a few weeks, my wife and I had to get our 3rd one. And since then, we've had so many close calls where someone's like, "Hey, you want a puppy? So-and-so just had puppies." Like, no, yes, no, I don't want one. Yes, I want to see it. But no, I don't want it.
No, anymore, whenever the wife brings up pets, I just point to the chaos in my living room, and she understands that it's not a good idea.
Yeah, but eventually she'll just flutter those eyelids, and you'll cave in.
I want to say you're wrong.
I've known you and Mrs. Coe for a long time, Tom, and it would take much. As a matter of fact, Tom and I just had a conversation, I think a week or 2 ago, where my house, speaking of dogs, we had a possible puppy scare. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with a false pregnancy, but one of my old English sheepdogs had a false pregnancy. At least that's what we found out. But for a couple of days there was a real concern because we took her to get her hair groomed, because you got to do a lot with sheepdogs. And they said, "Oh yeah, she's obviously pregnant because her boobs have gotten big and they're giving milk," and that's a pretty good sign.
That's a pretty good sign.
And we're like, butting heads like, how did the hell did this happen? Like, I know how it happened, but how did it happen? Because we're real cautious, we're real careful. She wasn't even in heat, so I'm like, it has to be a false pregnancy, but it was still a possibility. And I started doing the list in my head of all my neighbors and who all's what dogs are in the area, and there is a male bulldog just next to me. And I said, I want the chance, it could be the male bulldog next door. He's young, but he could be the father. And I could always unload one on Tom, because I'm sure he loves bulldogs. And then I was talking to Tom about it, and he said, yeah, no, I don't want anything else. I'm not going to talk to you about it, Tom. I'm going to go right to your wife and just send her pictures of puppies.
You evil prick.
Man, that sounded like a real Maury situation. There's one bulldog in the neighborhood, and it is the father. That's my Maury impression, ladies and gentlemen. I will be.
Spot on. I thought it was there.
Yeah, I mean, you can hire me, folks.
About the paternity results, actually.
Well, you should be, Tomko. You should be. Speaking of paternity results, let's talk about, things. Man things.
We all got them.
And we all got man things. Marvel has a man thing. This is a movie that came out in 2000.
Swinging man thing, yeah.
Yeah, this is a movie that came out in 2005 that nobody really gave a hoot about. Were you gentlemen aware of this movie when it first came out?
I was, and I'll never forget. It was one of those kind of moments. I was actually, I actually have a very vivid memory of seeing the trailer. Now, I'm a big Marvel guy. I live and breathe anything with Marvel, and I tend to follow the stuff very closely. And it really threw me off because I'm at my dad's house. We had just moved our house. We moved our house. We had a modular home, and we had just moved it on some property. And while we were waiting for them to finish the remodel and blah, blah, blah stuff was happening, I was staying at my dad's house. And so I'm at my dad's house, and I'm watching TV on the old Sci-Fi network. I think I was watching Stargate or something. And I see a trailer for this man thing, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even know they were making this. And it's like a made for TV kind of thing. Like, I'm totally going to watch it. Well, I didn't have the DVR set up with the TV. And this is back for the younger listeners. You couldn't just stream everything live. You had to sometimes set up a VCR to record things or a DVR kind of situation. I didn't have that. So I'm like, I'm just going to watch it live. And I didn't because I was distracted by something else. I kind of forgot about it until about 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, most people have.
I mean, I do vaguely remember hearing it was terrible, and I just didn't. I never got around to watching it or anything. It was always on my head. It was always on my list, though. It was always like, I need to watch that Man Thing movie, but then I completely forgot.
The whole Sci-Fi channel didn't fill me with a lot of, confidence, and so I was aware of it, but never bothered seeking it out until recently.
I mean, this was a Sci-Fi channel back before they decided to be real funky with their spelling. This was original OG Sci-Fi. No SYFY,
SyFy.
Yeah, SyFy. It's really weird because this is in the era of huge characters, superheroes, Marvel characters in the cinemas. X-Men, Spider-Man. There's multiples now, but back then there was only one. I mean,
yeah, this was only a few years before Iron Man, right? Because Iron Man was 2008.
Yeah, it was 2008, and I don't know shit about anything, but I'm gonna dare say that this was the point where Marvel was like, you know what? We'll just with our existing IP that we have the rights to, we're just gonna do it ourselves because look what they did over there.
I want to believe that this movie was like the straw that broke the camel's back kind of a thing. Like, I think they saw this and were like, okay, that's it. No, we're doing it ourselves from now on.
Exactly. It had to have been, because this is not what you think of when you watch a Marvel movie. And, you can go the horror route. That's fine. But I don't know. It's probably got to be good, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing just felt kind of cheap and rushed. It's like you could tell that Lionsgate had a moderate success with that first Punisher movie, and they figured, well, that worked. Let's go at it again, except they just didn't take any positive lessons from that Punisher movie.
And that Punisher movie, I haven't seen it in years, but I remember it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it.
Guess that's the Thomas Jane one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot. Actually, I thought it was a great movie. And actually, and I don't want to step on any toes here. I know Randy usually regales us with some back matter and some background, but I did a little Google search on this and read some Wikipedia and found some interesting things about the behind the scenes and why this movie was turned out the way it is. I don't want to ruin anything.
No, go ahead, take the reins.
Anything. So they filmed it in Australia, and the team that was making it. Normally, when a Marvel movie is being made, Avi Arad, am I saying that name right?
I believe you did. Yeah, I believe so.
He was basically the top Marvel guy. He was at the Kevin Feige of the time.
Yes, yeah.
And he kind of oversaw a lot of things. Well, then when they decided, hey, we're going to film this instead of doing it in America, like in the actual Bayou kind of a thing, they found it was, hey, let's just do it in Australia. That's basically the South. So they filmed it in Australia, and because they did that, Avi Arad and pretty much no one from Marvel went to check up on him. They were left completely unconnected from anyone from Marvel. There was no executive producers that were on set. No one was checking in on them whatsoever. It was pretty much they went and did the movie, and when they got back, the movie that they had, which was supposed to be a theatrical release, they looked at it and they were like, we can't put this in the theaters. This is terrible. And they just kind of that's why it felt like it was rushed. It was actually they actually finished it like 2 years, or they finished filming it in 2003, and they just kept there was debates of reshoots, and then finally this was just like, okay, fine, throw it together, put it on TV, we'll air it once and then be done with it. Try to just put it out there, so we made it, but then that was it, and then it was dead. They had a bunch of other projects that they were going to do aside from Punisher. I forget I don't have the Wikipedia thing in front of me, but they were going to do a bunch of other projects, and this kind of helped kill a lot of other projects that was going to happen.
Well, it was a weird time also. It's hard to think about now, but Marvel went through a bankruptcy. I mean, you would never believe it this day and age, but they went through a bankruptcy, and that led to all sorts of weird deals. And I remember back when that was happening, there was all sorts of street rumors from nerds that I knew that Magneto was getting sold to DC. That character specifically.
I remember hearing in general that they were going to be buying a shitload of property off of Marvel.
Yeah.
I think I vaguely remember hearing some of this too. I remember actually Tom and I maybe way back when having the conversation, like the parent company behind DC almost bought them.
Which would have been a weird alternate reality. I mean, there was also rumors like a year ago, I think it was, that Disney might be interested in purchasing Warner Brothers, which would have been wild also. I mean, yeah. But when you say all that, Jake, there's one fatal flaw in that logic. Like they filmed in Australia, which is notorious for all the swamps that Australia has.
I don't normally think of swampy backgrounds in Australia.
Yeah, that's a problem, right? So they had to make their own swamp on a daily basis. And I saw the Phase Zero podcast, which is a comicbook.com podcast, I guess. They actually got Brett Leonard, the director of this movie, who was previously the director of The Lawnmower Man. And also, he operated one of the clowns in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What a great pedigree, huh?
I was going to say, yeah, this guy clearly knows what he's doing.
So on a daily basis, they had to rebuild this swamp that they made in fucking Australia, right in the middle of the desert, right?
Oh, God, how much did that end up costing them?
Probably the entire $7 million budget, I would say. So every day they'd have to bring in more dirt and whatever. And he said on the podcast, it actually became a bit toxic because one day, for one of the scenes coming up, we had to create a bigger mound of mud, and the Australian crew went to grab some bags of like Fuller's Earth to build the mud mound up. Turned out it was made of what they would call chook shit, which is chicken shit. They poured all this chicken shit into a giant tank, and the entire tank became bacterially dangerous. And we had T-shirts made up with a man thing with his hands on his nose, going, "This swamp stinks." And if that's not a metaphor for the entire movie, I don't know what is.
You know, it's funny because I remember when they made and I don't know if you saw it or not, the Swamp Thing, which is a character very similar to Man Thing.
Yeah.
And they made that for what they made that for? Was that for the
DC Universe?
DC Universe Network?
Yes, sir.
And I loved it, but they also, did not film on location. They basically built a giant swamp ecosystem inside of a building. And that was actually the reason why we never got season 2. It wasn't because it wasn't popular. It was just too expensive to make and maintain that giant homemade swamp.
Yeah,
there's come to find out most actors and
just went to Australia.
Yeah, but no, come to find out most actors and directors don't like going out into real swamps.
Well, I guess there's that whole everything's trying to kill you thing. But why would you do Australia where everything's trying to kill you there too?
Tax breaks, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Keep the bean counters happy at Lionsgate.
I mean, there's two ways they could have done this: straight up horror or straight up camp. Like the best swamp monster movie ever, The Return of the Swamp Thing. And debate me if you will, but that movie's awesome because on the poster, Heather Locklear's character has a thought bubble that says, "Why can't men be more like plants?" As Swamp Thing is carrying her in her arms.
Aw.
I know. And it's great because in the movie, Swamp Thing grows like a sweet potato and he plucks it off his body and he gives it to Heather Locklear to bite into because it's like a sexy psychedelic yam. And Heather Locklear starts hallucinating about having sex with the human form of Swamp Thing because erotic intimacy through tubers is like one of the great powers that Swamp Thing has.
I think that's actually straight from the comics.
It is.
Yeah,
Alan Moore wrote it.
I was just wondering why Alan Moore has such a problem with, Hollywood adapting his works.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, how Swamp Thing ever realized that this gift was his to use, I'm not really sure, but I'd love to see the trial and error there. But filmed on the movie screen, that shit is gold.
I have to admit, I don't really know which direction to kind of come at this movie from because I'm already forgetting it. There's not a lot going on except a bunch of stereotypical tropes.
I had a thing earlier today. I was thinking about this movie and what I was going to talk about it, and I was trying to think of the individual deaths, and I'm like, wait, I don't remember. How did this character die? And I started thinking, I don't remember. Actually, no, I know this character. I know the son got killed, but I don't remember how or when.
Did he get killed or did he just get knocked out?
I don't remember, Tom. I just watched the movie 2 days ago, and I do not remember how most of the people actually died in this story because everyone kind of just got ripped apart or blown up from the inside.
See, and that's a real problem with this movie that I had. There's a variant cover. Well, to non-nerds, a variant cover is a additional cover other than the main one on a comic book designed to, sell more comics, basically. And collectors such as I go crazy nutso for them, and we'll pay so much money. Why? We don't know. We just do. But there's a variant cover to a Man-Thing limited series that came out years ago, and it was written by R.L. Stine. And on this cover that I'm thinking of, there's a close-up on Man-Thing's face, specifically on his big red eye. And in the eye, you can see a reflection of a Man-Thing is looking at. He's looking at a man that is on fire that he's holding by the neck. Because whoever knows fear burns at the Man-Thing's touch. And this movie does away with all that. One of the coolest concepts, I think, of Man-Thing, whoever knows fear burns at the Man-Thing's touch. I mean, that's a great horror premise in my mind, and I think it would have looked cool on the screen even, this big shambling pile of weeds and roots who can set you on fire just by a touch. It's kind of ridiculous, kind of awesome, kind of perfect for a B movie about a D-list character, but in this movie, you just kind of infest people with moss and roots, which, I don't know, it would suck. I've never been infested by moss and roots, but flames is a crowd pleaser.
Tends to be.
Yeah, they could. This is another one of the examples. It feels like they just made a generic movie without actually knowing anything. It's like they look at a cover of a comic book that had Man-Thing on it and went, that's enough. We got it.
Yeah, I mean, they got, as the Hulk used to call him, the mindless savage one, Carrot Nose. They got that right. He's got kind of that elephant trunk.
I'm really curious about the origins of this movie. Like, did it start out as a Man-Thing movie and it just progressively had its budget reduced to where they couldn't really do a whole lot of that? Or was it just like a generic Hollywood movie and then some producers said, hey, I know how we can sell this. Let's make it into a comic book movie. Those are popular.
Well, it's weird because back at that time, you would think the rights to Man-Thing would be like slim to none, right? But also nobody knows who Man-Thing is either. So
I have to admit, I've been reading comic books all my life. Never read a Man-Thing comic book. Don't know a goddamn thing about the character.
I can one up you, Tom. I've been reading Marvel comics specifically most of my life. I am a diehard Marvel fan. I'm familiar with the character. Like I know, because he's one of those kind of characters that has kind of been relegated to just like, oh, throw him in the background, or oh, it's Man-Thing. Like, but actually, his origin story or anything that's an actual Man-Thing comic, I've never read in all my 30-ish years of reading comics.
Okay.
Literally, the only thing I know about Man-Thing is that's where Howard the Duck had his first appearance.
Yep.
And I knew he's a nexus of reality. So, like, a lot of times he's involved in like alternate reality stories or something because you can travel to other dimensions through Man-Thing.
Kinky.
I know that's part of his thing. You kind of just go into him.
Which seems like it's going to come in handy in the MCU based on all the multiverses of madnesses.
Now, I don't want to spoil anything you may or may not review in the near future, but now Man-Thing in Werewolf by Night.
Did you watch Werewolf by Night, Tomko?
No, I was planning on watching that after I finished up She-Hulk.
It's good stuff. It's quick, Tom. It's not even like a movie. It's not even.
It's 55 minutes.
It's like one episode of.
Yeah, it's a one shot, and I don't want to switch gears, talk about something that's not the thing we're talking about, but like I want more of that from Marvel. I want more like here's a quick standalone one shot story about a character, have fun, and that's what it was, it was great.
And you know who the breakout character of that was? It was Man-Thing. Everybody's talking about Man-Thing now. Because
and Man-Thing was perfect example of something. You take a character like that, you use him sparingly, and he's great.
Yeah, well, this is the company that made Groot a household name. Nobody in their right mind should know who Groot is, yet everybody knows who Groot is. It's ridiculous. And Rocket Raccoon, for Christ's sake.
Well, they're cute and cuddly and can move a lot of toys with characters like that. I don't know if you're going to have little kids dressing up as Man-Thing.
Well, you will based on the approach they took in the Werewolf by Night special. He's cute and cuddly.
I would buy a nice big collectible Man-Thing figure. I thought he was great.
Yeah. So Man-Thing, his origins, he I'll educate you two nerds. I'll be King Dork for a minute. He was a scientist named Ted Salas, and the terrorist organization AIM discovered he was working on a super soldier serum. He was trying to recreate Captain America, and they ransacked his lab, and he was on the run, and he crashed his car into the swamp, and the serum that he injected in himself because he didn't want the terrorists to get him, they interacted, and he became a Man-Thing. Because that's how science works, right?
That checks out with everything I know so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I would probably just get cancer, but I mean, it worked for him.
It did. It certainly worked for him. So he became this big, giant, shambling mass of roots and weeds, and he eventually became the guardian of the nexus of realities because he fought a demon and won, because that's what swamp monsters do, and drugs are great in the 70s Marvel world. And Howard the Duck jumped through a portal there because the great Steve Gerber decided that would be a cool thing to do. And I love Steve Gerber, so I co-signed that sport. That was a great thing to do.
So what you're saying is this movie has pretty much nothing to do with the comic book character.
Absolutely nothing other than the basic
name Ted Sallis
look.
is used in the story, and could have tied. I felt they were trying to imply there was a connection between Ted Sallis. His character dies. He's like one of the first people to go missing or whatever. I think it's implied that he became the Man-Thing, or his death spawned the Man-Thing. But they could have taken like 10 seconds and actually clarified that. Or maybe, I don't know, give us a flashback or something to kind of
I was gonna say,
a connection, or tried.
I didn't read any of those books, so that reference was completely over my head. I was just happy that I caught the Steve Gerber reference.
Oh, speaking of references, because I did actually make notes on this. I remember hearing another name popped in there. I'm like, hey, that name rings a bell. Mike Plug, the name of the guy who he was the photographer.
Yeah.
That's right. Mike Plug is actually, I believe I'm trying to do the quick looks.
He was an artist on Man-Thing.
Yeah, I think he was the artist on Man-Thing. I don't know if he created the design for him or if he just did a lot of work on it. But Mike Plug, he was one of the guys, he was one of the people who really kind of helped create that character.
Oh, quick trivia question, guys. Which thing came first, man or swamp?
I want to say...
Isn't there debate on that?
I want to say Swamp Thing because Marvel traditionally usually copies stuff from DC a lot of times, but I think it's the other way around this time. Like I think actually Man-Thing came first, I thought.
He did come first. However, the creator of Swamp Thing, Len Wein, was roommates with the creator of Man-Thing, Roy Thomas. So there you go. Yeah, and and Len actually wrote the second appearance of Man-Thing, which also was written and drawn before the first appearance of Swamp Thing, but was released afterwards. So there you go. And by the way, if you can check it down, the second appearance of Man-Thing was drawn by the great Neil Adams, and it is fucking amazing to look at.
You got my interest.
Oh, it's so cool. I was reading a little bit of it because the second appearance takes place in Khazar the Savage, because why not? And they had commissioned this 10-page thing from Neil Adams and Len Wein to appear in Savage Tales magazine, which was a thing that Marvel used to do. They'd have like edgy, mature content aimed more towards adults in these, I don't know, bigger magazine type deals. And the magazine folded, so they staved the story and just threw it in the middle of this Khazar story, which it doesn't fit whatsoever, but whatever. It's nice to look at.
Well, yeah, it's Neil Adams' art. Of course it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
That would be something I wouldn't mind a print of or something if that exists.
Now, would you guys agree with me, though, that this is a very bland movie?
Well, they do the hack 80s horror thing of basically they're like, oh, this is Indian sacred land, or this is an Indian burial ground, because Native Americans equals magic, right?
That was one of my first notes is, why does this movie feel like it came out in 1985 and not 2005?
Exactly.
Really? I was thinking like mid-90s Steven Seagal when he got in touch with Mother Earth.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that he fought oil men in one of those movies too. So, yeah, I could definitely see the sheriff having a ponytail and a beer gut.
This movie would be a lot better if Steven Seagal was fighting Man-Thing. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, God damn it. Now I want that movie so bad.
Let's make it happen. He's not doing anything.
No.
I think he's like a sheriff or something, isn't he? I don't know.
He likes to say he is.
Yeah.
But no, you got the sleazy oil man. You got the wise sage Native American who's trying to warn people about this Guardian. You've got another Native American who's trying to help the Guardian. And you got the white people coming in and saving the day.
Yep. You
and
got
a generic school teacher who I immediately go, she's going to be the love interest. They couldn't have used a Native American person, but okay, that's cool. And then when they like hook up, I'm like, that there was nothing that led up to that moment. It was just like, boom, they kissed.
Well, you got to.
Yeah.
She's living in a small town. She's a school teacher. This hot young thing comes and becomes a sheriff. I mean, what else is she to do other than swoon immediately? That's what women do, right?
He was a good-looking guy. I got to give you that. He was a good-looking guy.
Do you guys recognize that woman, by the way?
I recognize her, but I did not bother looking up. I know I've seen her other things, but I can't place her.
That was Rachel Taylor. She was in the Jessica Jones Netflix series. She played Jessica's best friend, Trish Walker, a.k.a. Patsy Walker.
No shit.
Yep. I kept thinking I've known her for something, but I'm like, oh, is that the chick from Full House? No, that's not the chick from Full House. And I kept going, no, I'm pretty sure. No, that's not the chick who, like, she got in some legal issues or something, and then she was Aunt Becky. Like, no, that's not Aunt Becky. But am I sure that's not Aunt Becky? That was probably 20 minutes of watching this movie, and before I realized, no, that's not Aunt Becky.
To be fair, she was in a lot more things before that. She was in Transformers. She was in the WWE wrestler Kane vehicle See No Evil, which is probably a highlight of her resume. She was in a failed attempt at Charlie's Angels on TV, whatever. But mainly, most nerds would know her from Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and she was even in the Defenders for a little bit. So
I think Tom and I are the only
it's a living
like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a show that was custom made for just the two of us, Jake.
The Defenders?
I remember watching Tom and be like, this is awesome. It's going to do so well. And then everyone hated it.
Everybody hated it. Yep.
No, I like the Defenders a lot.
I loved the Defender. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I liked all of those shows, really, other than Iron Fist, which is, I know, a common thing. But the ending of Iron Fist, I love.
Oh, yeah, I liked how the second season ended.
Yeah.
Iron Fist, I Googled it because I knew it was someone else. Iron Fist and Black Widow were both movies that were lined up to be made by Lionsgate before they fucked up Man-Thing.
Yeah, so basically they shot for all the characters that nobody cared about at the time, and they're like, hey, we can make movies on this, and we can do whatever we want, basically.
Turns out, no, they can't.
They cannot. They cannot.
I'm really surprised that this movie did as much damage to the relationship between Marvel and Lionsgate as it did, because back in the early 2000s, we were pretty starved for live-action Marvel content, and we weren't really picky.
Oh, I know. Like, a Man-Thing series? Are you kidding me? And now we're saying a Werewolf by Night series? Are you kidding me? With Elsa Bloodstone and Man-Thing in it? Holy shit.
I was going to say, if anything, we're kind of getting to the point with Marvel where it's like, okay, who else haven't we seen? We're starting to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel. It's like, a Werewolf by Night series? Are you kidding me?
It's still no Darkhawk.
I know. He's coming. He's got to be. The next Guardians movie, right?
Yeah. He's got to be.
Phase 7 is going to be all about Darkhawk.
Darkhawk and 14. Sleepwalker.
Oh, Sleepwalker. I would love me some Sleepwalker. He's high on my list of, like, favorite obscure Marvel characters.
Oh, so many rumor sites. So many rumor sites were saying he was going to be in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie. So many.
Visually, I think Sleepwalker looks really cool.
Well, visually, Morbius looks kind of cool, but doesn't make a good movie.
Okay, so quick side tangent. I finally watched Morbius like a month ago, I think. Maybe a little under a month ago. Didn't hate it. I didn't think it wasn't great, but I did not dislike it as much as I was expecting to.
I have not watched it, but I figure we're probably going to do it on this program at some point.
You can put that on a poster.
Yeah.
Jake, I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it.
And, that kind of sums up this movie for me. I always heard that it was just awful, so I expected just a complete and total train wreck. But, it's a functioning movie, at least.
I kind of feel the same way in a weird way. I'm on my notes, I think my last note is here, 20 minutes left in the movie. Am I enjoying this?
No, I wouldn't go so far as to say I enjoyed it, but I didn't hate it. It moved at a decent pace for the budget that they had. They covered up a lot of their limitations nicely, I thought.
I thought it was a perfectly acceptable, functioning, generic monster movie. Is what it was. I thought like if that's like if I was going to compare it to the typical sci-fi movie horror attempts, I would say this would probably be one of the better ones.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Going back to my 80s comment about the whole Indian burial ground and magical whatevers, I think if this movie came out in the 80s, it would have been a cult classic, quite honestly. I think if you didn't have to have Man-Thing be the villain or the protagonist in this movie. It could have been anything.
Yeah, like you said, it could have been. This feels like a good like Steven Seagal fights generic monster movie thing. And yeah, you're right. It probably come out in 1985. This probably would have been a big cult classic.
Yeah, but the problem is it came out in 2005. And I didn't necessarily hate it either. I own the fucking DVD, for crying out loud. I mean, I just watched it the other day for the first time on Tubi, but I bought the DVD with all the intentions of watching it years ago. I watched it.
You're a collector. Comic book movies out. You gotta have it.
Yeah.
That's like me and my hardcover shelf. Wow, one of these days I should totally read anything that's up there.
Yeah.
Instead, you just grab your iPad and I'll just read it online.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
As opposed to carrying around a 50-pound book. Yeah.
So full disclosure, I have the aforementioned baby who doesn't like to sleep whatsoever. So it was early Saturday morning, 5 a.m. to be exact, where baby woke up and Randy drug his sleepy ass to the couch and put this on. It's streaming on Tubi for free if anybody wants to watch it. And that's what I did. I watched it at 5 a.m. on a Saturday. And I wasn't sure if I was like too sleepy to watch it or whatever, but I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I'm not sure I even liked it, but it was entertaining. It wasn't bad. I think the design of Man-Thing in the movie overall was pretty good. What they had
to work with, they did a passable job.
Yeah, when you have like the practical effects of Man-Thing, it looks cool. When you go to the CGI, it looks like Sharktopus. But that's, I mean, and it wasn't supposed to be a sci-fi movie, but it looks like a sci-fi movie.
I snuck away from a wedding to watch this.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
We were at a wedding in your hometown, by the way, down in beautiful Bay City, Michigan. And I was at the wedding, and we were staying at the hotel where the wedding was being held. And pretty much after we finished dinner, I'm like, I'm going to go back to the hotel room and just chill out for a bit. And I had a few drinks. So I went up there, watched about 30 minutes of it, went back down, put my nice clothes back on, went back down to the wedding, got a couple more drinks, came back up to the room.
So what you're saying is you had to drink to get through this.
I don't know if I say I had to, but it helped. It helped. But like I said, I still stick with you. This wasn't a bad movie.
So any final words on the Man-Thing, gentlemen?
No, I could go on for hours, Tomko. Why you want to cut this off so quick? Like, you got somewhere to be? Like, I just want to sit here all night talking about Man-Thing.
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to.
Hey, you know what? It did open with a topless scene, so
yeah, there were boobs and F words in a Marvel movie.
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting.
Considering I was expecting a
35 seconds in the movie, I'm seeing boobs. I'm like, yeah, because I thought this actually, because originally before I looked it up, I thought this was made for sci-fi, until I found out that no, it was kind of like just thrusted on sci-fi,
abandoned on
sci-fi.
I think probably to sum it up, IGN had an interview back in the day with the screenwriter Hans Rodenoff, and he said, quote, "If the Man-Thing was the protagonist of the movie, then yeah, I could see that being a pretty difficult task. But as it is, the Man-Thing is a malignant force of nature. The shark didn't talk in Jaws. I approached the Man-Thing in a similar way. Ultimately,
was the Man-Thing the bad guy or the good guy?
He's a malignant force of nature.
Yeah. He is the bad guy in the sense that he is the monster that's killing people. But I mean, by the end of the movie, the real bad guy is the evil, corrupt corporate oil guy.
But it's always good when your screenwriter compares your movie to Jaws. I love that. Like, maybe not make that reference, okay? Please don't.
You know, I have to admit, I
Jaws.
I know that I'm giving this movie way more credit than it deserves, but I was actually kind of getting a Jaws vibe in the fact that they couldn't show you Man-Thing due to technical and financial reasons.
Oh, I mean, we reviewed Alligator a few weeks ago. I mean, it's the same thing. And there's a movie called Grizzly that I absolutely adore that does the same thing. It does that whole, you can't see it, the whole Jaws, I mean, Alien even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of those classic movies, you don't really get a good close-up look at the monster until the climax of the movie.
Yeah, I always hated that. Like, show it to me right now.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't help that the picture in this movie was so goddamn dark that you couldn't even make it out when they showed him.
Well, that's probably the copy I sent you. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Well, that might also be just to try to cover up the special effects.
That's what I figured. Yeah, that's honestly what I figured they were going for.
Yeah, it's kind of a dark movie. And also, yes, the main bad guy at the end, quote unquote bad guy, the owner of the big oil refinery place gets his. So Man-Thing's pissed off. He's this angry force of the swamp. He's getting pissed off at this oil refinery because of all the pollution and whatnot. And so he kills the owner of this place by sticking oil in him until it pours out of his eyeballs and ears and whatever. And I was like, but now it's getting in the swamp again, dude.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I was wondering if, they were going to have to get hazmat suits to clean up after Man-Thing.
Well, it did all blow up and burn shortly after that, which I'm sure was good enough for the environment.
Yeah, I kind of fucked up that patch of swamp there.
Yeah.
But it's the dark waters.
It's a dark water.
Oh, I stand corrected.
Not to be confused with that Jennifer Connelly movie, Dark Water. Unless it's a sequel to Man-Thing. I don't know.
I just kept thinking about
cartoon back from like the 80s called
Oh my God, yes.
I vaguely remember this existing.
Yes.
And loving it because it was kind of dark for a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, it was a bunch of pirates, right? And they were fighting this dark water that was like tar, and that's all I kind of remember about it.
I don't remember anything about it, just that I just know it existed, and I remember liking it.
The Pirates of Dark Water.
Pirates of Dark Water.
Now, every time I hear dark water, I keep thinking of that scene in It, where they were talking about brown water. And it's kind of appropriate, because brown water is just code for shit.
Yeah. We all float down here, Tomko. Beep, beep. So what do you give this movie, Tomko? Is it someone's favorite? Would you recommend it to somebody else?
Yeah, why not? It's dumb. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's mostly harmless. If you're a sci-fi superhero geek, it's worth your time, but maybe wait until it's in the $5 bin at Walmart.
Or wait until it's free on Tubi.
Yeah, it's free on Tubi. You don't get much freer than free, Tomko.
Yeah, but then you got to watch commercials.
Yeah, just a couple of them.
I mean, if you're a Marvel movie completionist and you're like, I want to see every movie that's ever been made that has the Marvel connection, then yeah, it's 100% worth watching.
Yeah. And by the way, I know I've said it before, but Tubi is like the old dusty video store that you used to visit when you were a kid.
It does kind of remind me of that.
It's got all this weird stuff. It's got blockbusters too that you wouldn't think would be on there. It's got weird, obscure stuff. It's pretty great. And it's free, so what the fuck? You just have to watch a couple 30-second commercials. It's worth it.
Spoiled, though. I don't like commercials no more.
Oh, go stand in the corner and weep. Lose sleep.
That's all Tom complains about every time.
Lose sleep and cry about it, Tomko. God.
Hey, I got to find the dark cloud under every silver lining, sir.
You are just a glass half empty motherfucker. God.
I'm a glass fell off the counter and broke my goddamn hand kind of guy.
Oh, man. As for me, I think I would say that, if you've got nothing better to do, it's okay. You can watch it once and be all right with it. Lord knows there's worse things you'd probably watch. So
Oh, Lord knows there's been plenty of things that I've watched that are worse just for this podcast.
That's fair too. That is a fair point. I think.
No kidding. A year ago, you guys made me watch a Vanilla Ice movie, and I haven't been on since then.
Oh, come on. That changed your life, Jake. Cool as Ice was an experience.
That's not always a good thing. Cancer changes people's lives too. I don't recommend that you go out and buy a ticket to it.
Yeah, but you know what? You'll never forget cancer, and you'll never forget Cool as Ice.
It's been a year, and I still remember vividly watching that movie.
I think maybe because of the increased, it's easy to increase from zero interest in Man-Thing, that maybe people will seek this out, being like, hey, this is here.
Oh, if Lionsgate were smart,
Yes.
they would exploit the hell out of it.
I don't know if they can.
I could see a lot of people being like, "Oh, Man-Thing." Google, wait, there was a Man-Thing movie in 2005. I'll give it a watch. Yeah, I could see a lot of upticks in rewatching this movie.
I could see a lot of pissed off Marvel fans.
Yeah, that too. I'm not sure if Lionsgate can do anything about this, right? I don't know how rights work, quite honestly.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. But if you own the DVD, then you have it forever. So I am sold until it has bit rot and no longer works. I know.
That day we will weep.
Yeah, and one day I'll have bit rot and I'll no longer work. But until then, I'll still be here. Tomko, where can people find you on the World Wide Web?
Oh, if you are so inclined, you can find me at The Drunken Dork on Twitter or on a little Facebook page called Jake and Tom Conquer the Group. What about you, Randall?
You can find me at mretailslave on the twitter.com and basically only there, I guess. I don't really do social media anymore, but I'm going to for the sake of all that's holy, including this podcast. It's the holiest of all things. Jake, where can people find you?
Same place that Tom said. I have a way more limited social media presence nowadays, and I'm because I do a little bit of Facebook, not hardly any Twitter, and I'm too damn old for TikTok. So
that's fair. Since I have both you gentlemen on here, like, is there any chance of a Jake and Tom revival at some point? Maybe some specials?
Oh, I've thought about the idea of recording something just for us and then just anonymously putting it into the feed to absolute zero fanfare, but I haven't really thought too much about it.
I would never say never.
Okay. Well, if you guys
schedules have gotten so mine more than anything have gotten so sporadic in the last couple of years. It's hard to connect.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I have a baby.
This is the first of my podcast with Tom in a year.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I have a baby and 3 stepdaughters and a full-time job, and God, where's my life? And a dog. Oh my God, that dog. Yeah. So I get it. But if you guys ever have an inkling to get together, I mean, even if you don't have a feed, I can make shit happen. So,
Well, I keep hoping for Jaking Off Volume 3.
I mean, that could happen too.
Again, I looked for a Man-Thing porn parody. I was going to put together a little brief version of that, but alas, the internet failed me.
Yeah, it's really surprising. It's one of those parodies that would kind of write itself.
I mean, Jake, if you're ever up for it, we can do a Jaking Off on this podcast. I know it's not Tomko's thing, but it's my thing, so we could totally do that.
Well, what we gotta do is find a movie that exists in both worlds and do both.
Yeah.
Review the traditional vanilla version of the movie, and then I can review the porn version of the movie.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think I just gave you your next Patreon idea.
Yeah, I love it. All
right, Jake. Your homework assignment is to go out and find the XXX version of Night of the Lepus.
Good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you.
They're doing it like bunnies.
Yeah. Oh, man. As for us, what do we have next? I think we're going to tackle, since we already covered the entire franchise, we better cover the ending of the franchise. LOL, smiley face. Ending. Halloween Ends. Tomko and I both watched it. We have thoughts. We're going to do that next time, I think. because
I'm looking forward to looking at this one under the hood with you, sir. I think there's a lot to unpack.
oh yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. It's something. And then after that, if you want to get ahead, people, and watch what we watch, a very obscure movie that's been on my list for this podcast since the very beginning, and I didn't know people knew this movie existed, but it's coming out on Blu-ray. We've had a very punk rock year. We've covered a lot of movies about punk rock, and this fits right in. It's called Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains, and I can't wait to hear what Tomko thinks about this one.
I look forward to checking it out, sir.
As for you, Mr. Jake, you're welcome back anytime. We're going.
I'll make it work.
We're going
I promise it won't be a year before I come back.
No, it won't be, because since we're so late in October, thanks to Tomko getting a dog, and me having a baby. Usually I want to make Halloween a big fucking deal, and boy, it never works. So we're moving Halloween to January and calling it Janu Scary, and that's probably an original idea that no one's ever thought of.
Trademark it.
I will. I'll do it right now. So we're going to have Halloween in January, and Jake, we need you back to do Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
You have no idea how much I want to rewatch that movie. That was a movie I probably watched 100 times when I was a kid, but I have not rewatched it since.
I have actually rewatched it a couple years ago. I'm curious to see if you think it holds up.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on, Jake.
Anytime. Anytime.
Thank you so much for dealing with my nonsense for yet another episode, Tomko.
As always, sir, it's my pleasure.
And next time we're covering Halloween Ends. Yeah, it will. Until the rights revert back and that producer wants to make more money.
Exactly.
I'm still kind of mad at you guys because I listened to the episode where you reviewed the movie after H2O. And I went out of my way never to actually watch that movie because I liked how H2O ended. But now
Jake,
I know.
No one forced you to listen to that episode.
I feel slightly coerced.
As long as it's not your fault, right?
If you don't listen,
I'm not taking blame.
Tomko will drive up to northern Michigan and give you the worst purple nurple you've ever had.
I don't know. He's had a lot of them.
And that goes for all you people. Anybody of you that decides not to listen anymore, Tomko will knock on your door and give you the purple nurple of your nightmares.
I know how to work a GPS, God damn it.
God damn it. We'll see you next time on someone's favorite movie. Bye-bye.
See ya.